Week 3 of the English Premier League kicks off on Friday with Chelsea taking on Luton Town. And that's not the only must-win match for one of what they call the top 6. So let's bring in sports broadcaster and Chelsea content creator Elizabeth Helenek for this week's Premier League preview. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us live from Madrid, Spain, but she hails from Long Island. Maybe one day we'll talk about how that migration happened. But let's talk Chelsea, Luton Town. Preview this matchup for us. What are your biggest takeaways going into this match?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. I do expect Chelsea to get the win. Obviously, they're without a win in their first 2 Premier League games. It was a really difficult opening fixture, Liverpool at home. But I did feel that Chelsea were the better side, actually, for large majorities of that game. And I think what we're seeing under Poch is that the team are really attacking. Last season, we saw a lot of side passes, backward passes. The team was moving the ball slowly. And now we've seen an improvement that the team is moving the ball quickly. They're looking to move the ball forward as well. And now they just need to get the ball in the back of the net. I thought that they looked really positive versus West Ham as well. In the first half, the second half, things started to collapse a little bit. And I thought it was interesting that Poch opted for a back 3/5 when in the entirety of the preseason, we've seen Chelsea play in a back 4. So it'll be interesting to see if Poch opts for that tomorrow, since it's a game that Chelsea do need to win. Maybe not the best defense, so maybe you don't need that extra defender on there. And Chelsea have a couple of injuries out. Mudryk has joined the injury list along with Chukwuemeka in the last game, but I still think that Chelsea have a strong squad and should be getting the win in this one.
Yeah, they need those 3 points. And outside of Chelsea, who are your top 3 teams that need a W?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's so early on in the season, so it's really difficult to say right now. But the first one might come as a surprise for people. I opted for Man United because I know that they did get a win in their opening match versus Wolves, but maybe they shouldn't have. I felt that they got a little bit lucky that Wolves didn't get the penalty for them. And I just feel that they haven't looked their best. Rashford has been playing as a 9 instead of on the left. So I feel like they could really use a win just to start getting the momentum going. And then the other team that I opted for is Everton. Obviously, they've had a really rough last 2 years in the Premier League, almost getting relegated. They're off to a rough start as well. A 1-0 loss versus Fulham in opening weekend, and then a 4-0 battering versus Aston Villa last weekend. So they really need to get the win and just start picking up points. Otherwise, they might find themselves even getting relegated this season. And then the other one, Sheffield United, newly promoted team to the Premier League, still without a win. They lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace and 2-1 to Forest, which are teams that maybe they should be trying to get a draw against. Obviously, they play Man City at the weekend, so I would be surprised if Man City lost that game. But the following game is versus Everton, so I think that one is going to be really important. It could shape up interesting for a relegation battle. I don't want to speak too early, but you never know.
Yeah, we're going to have some great matchups this weekend. And each weekend we've seen a big upset. Last week, it was West Ham beating Chelsea 3-1. Which match do you think will have the biggest upset?
So this might come as a surprise. I opted for Newcastle versus Liverpool. I feel that Newcastle have looked strong. They had a really, really, really good season last year. Liverpool, not so much. And even though Newcastle lost to Man City last weekend, I just feel that they have that extra something. And Liverpool, like I mentioned previously, I didn't feel that they played especially well against Chelsea. They beat Bournemouth 3-1. Obviously, they're going through a bit of a midfield reshuffle as well. They've just brought in a new midfielder, Endo, who made his debut against them but didn't start, so maybe we'll see him starting. But I just feel like Newcastle have the edge. Maybe that could be seen as an upset because typically you might have thought that Liverpool would have dominated this fixture, but I think that Newcastle are going to edge it.
Yeah, I like the pick because Newcastle played Man City pretty tough in a 1-0 loss last weekend. So there's a lot of Newcastle fans that are sitting around saying, so you're saying there's a chance. Elizabeth, this was fun. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.